Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah. I watched the conversation today with Brother Daniel Haqiqatjou and Brother Muhammad Hijab, two respected brothers. May Allah bless them both. I have a few things that I would like to just elaborate on because I am kind of, I guess you could say, slightly involved in some of the things that took place lately. At least I would say indirectly involved. And I'm not here to add fuel to the fire, and I'm not interested in causing fitna between anybody here whatsoever. And I think the brothers know me by now in this regard. Now, I would like want to start by playing a clip from the I guess the podcast or the meeting between the brothers, and then once we do that, then we will go ahead and just comment on a few little things. And inshallah, this video will not be very long, and I don't expect it to be so. And let's keep it as brief as possible, inshallah, and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to bless this short advice that I have for the brothers. Let's play this first.
And then there's us, the dawah people that just do dawah to the people, that we don't need to concern ourselves necessarily with this too much, because it doesn't affect our day-to-day. Like, the only man that has authority over me is my father, because that's what the Sharia has allowed. There's no ruler that's over me, yani. I don't care, yani. There's no ruler. It's the case. My friend said this to me yesterday. I was like, this is a good point. He said, there's only man that's got authority over me is my father. And he said that the only thing I'll do in terms of authority that I fear of is the prison. Yani. So that's my legal context. I don't need to think about what's happening in Egypt or Saudi Arabia or Yemen or Oman or wherever other countries. I actually don't care, because for me, it doesn't matter. I've got 4 masail that I look at.
Now, brothers and sisters, please pay close attention to what Brother Muhammad Hijab is going to say right now, and the body language and the reaction of Brother Daniel when he says this. And this is a very important point, because it does relate to, I guess, the crux of the matter and the controversy between our respected brothers Saajid Lipham, Brother Wajdi Akari, and Brother Daniel as well. Bismillah.
That political masail that I will always be with in the West, because I think I can influence them. One of them is Palestine issue. The other one is the Rohingya issue in Burma. The third one is the Hindutva issue in India. And the fourth one is the Uyghur issue in China. These, for me, as a person living in the West, I don't need to go anywhere above and beyond that, because I'll be spreading myself too thin. So I've kind of limited that for myself. These are my 4 issues. I'm not even going to speak about this leader here or that one there, because it doesn't concern me, and the people don't care. You know, the Somali brother that's living next door to me, or the Pakistani guy that's living across the road to me, or the Egyptian guy that's living, the Moroccan guy. We in the West don't need to care about these things, because for me, it's not a big Ghani issue. You can have
it is like, it's a big issue in the sense that these countries are being liberalized.
Okay, so Brother Daniel comes back and says that the issue has to do with the Muslim countries being liberalized. And we're aware that this munkar does exist. No one is denying this, whether this change of the curriculum or whatever else is happening. But pay attention to what Brother Muhammad Hijab is saying here.
So they're threatening the future of Islam in these countries.
No,
that's
I mean,
that's the danger.
Yeah, well, it's a big issue for them. For those guys. Yeah, no, I get it. But I'm not going to affect change. I'm not going to affect change in those. I know if I had to choose my 4 issues, those are my 4 issues that I'm going to focus on. Because those other issues there, there's ulama, there's guys that are on the high level. Do you know what I'm trying to say? These guys are big timers. And I don't believe that everyone's khawana. There are some people, scholars, who will say, this has to happen, this has to happen. These guys. I personally believe that these issues relating to the Muslim leaders, for me personally, are way above my pay grade. I'll be honest with you. Because if I start speaking about it, I feel like if I say something wrong, something bad can happen, and I don't want that to be attributed back to me. So for me, those 4 issues personally are the ones I focus on.
Okay, so Brother Daniel there, his reaction, subhanallah, yani, it explains a lot. And Brother Daniel, you know, I'm not here to offend you or Brother Muhammad Hijab. I am going to be honest. I watched, I would say, about 2 hours just before you guys took your first or your break after the 4-hour mark, because I was exercising, and I turned on YouTube because I like to listen to some lectures and things while I'm exercising. And then I saw this live. I was like, you know what? Let's listen to the 2 brothers and see what they have to say. So what Brother Muhammad Hijab said here is actually very, very important, in that he says it's above his pay grade, and he might cause a problem. And not all the scholars are khawana or traitors. And the proof of this, brothers and sisters, is that some of these scholars that are advising or prohibiting or condemning the munkar are in jail, subhanallah. And this is not a new thing. I mean, you can go back into history and look at the scholars like Imam Ahmad, like Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and others who were Imam Malik. I mean, they were all, many of them were jailed, some of them were tortured and so on, because of their stances against what they saw as the corruption. Now, Brother Daniel, I just wanted to mention something about our brother here on his YouTube. He says here, sharing a comment I made to a brother who wants this debate between Saajid and me to end. In reality, it is a debate between the whole ummah versus the Madkhali cult. Okay. Brother Daniel copied and pasted my actually advice to him. And this comes from actually here, if I could just take a minute to share this with you, from my Facebook page. This is my post, and I'm going to read it to you just because I want to make sure that you understand. When Brother Daniel said that I'm asking him or begging him that I want this debate to end, that's not what I said. This is my original post, and I would appreciate it if Brother Daniel would maybe mention my name, not because I want to be famous, but because we want to put things into context. 6 days ago, I said here, I am staying out of this controversy. Nas'alullah al-afiyah. We ask Allah for overall safety. Previously, I shared a couple of videos regarding the most recent controversy in the da'wah scene. I deleted them and will not share any content in this particular regard. I have some advice for our brothers Saajid, Abdullah Lipham, Daniel Haqiqatjou, and Wajdi Akari. So the first thing I mentioned in this advice is sincerity of intention is paramount in all of what we do. When we are refuting each other, there is a high risk that our actions will be mixed with attempts to save face and defend our manly pride. Number 2, using derogatory terms on each other will never bear any fruit. It will only cause hatred between us, and worse, make us fall into the trap I mentioned in point number 1. The sincerity of intention will be compromised. Number 3, all of us, myself included, are not safe from the tongues and pens of those who have turned the da'wah into groupism and tainted it with the cult mentality. Those very same people, the ones who go to extremes in justifying the oppression of the Muslim rulers, consider all of us deviants and are now parading this conflict and loving every minute of it. Number 4, battling the dangerous ideologies such as liberalism and atheism is no less important than teaching the correct pristine aqidah, which includes knowing who is Allah. Those who have doubts about Allah and leaving Islam do it so primarily because of having evil thoughts about him. So what I'm saying here is that a Muslim with a good aqidah, with a proper aqidah, will not be really fazed by these attempts, whether it's Muslim governments that are succumbing to these things, whether it's happening in the West or these imams which are watering things down. The aqidah, if it's strong and sound, then by Allah's will and tawfiq, this will not happen to a good Muslim who has a strong aqidah. They won't be fazed by it. Number 4, the call for political Muslim unity and to uphold the Sharia or for some sort of caliphate is very important, some sort of Muslim union, yani. Muslims have to know that we are in a stage of governance which is the forceful tyrannical stage, the one just before the return of the caliphate that is based on the prophetic methodology. This work is not for underground movements to do, and this relates to my next point, number 5, from all you three. I'm talking about Brother Saajid, Brother Wajdi, and Brother Daniel. 2 of you have my book on Hizb al-Tahrir. One of you doesn't. I think everybody will know who that is. Although I offered him a free copy of my book, just as I had done for the other 2. That very same one admitted not knowing much about this group. My offer to him is still open to send him a free copy of my book. It is important to understand the ideology of such groups to achieve this goal. Ends don't justify means. Number 7, I share posts from all 3 of you brothers. I share Brother Wajdi's post, I share Brother Saajid's post, I share Brother Daniel's post. Now, obviously, I was sharing some things and I decided to delete them off Facebook with respect to this controversy because I don't want to be a part of it. I'm just advising the brothers. I have never had a dispute or altercation with any one of you. All of you, myself included, are against so-called imams who are pushing liberalism on Muslims and watering down the religion. It is unfortunate how we are now going at it against each other. Number 8, we all know and appreciate the differences between condemning evil and going overboard so as to hype people to rebel against their what? Governments. I think all of us can agree that the Arab Spring was an expensive lesson for the Ummah. That change does not happen overnight. And Brother Daniel and the other brothers at Muslim Skeptic, when they did that discussion regarding the Halloween in Saudi Arabia and so on, Brother Daniel, remember, and I watched you, Akhi, that you said that you are sympathetic towards the opinion that about rebelling against the oppressive Muslim ruler. in the results of the Arab Spring. So the whole point is what Brother Muhammad Hijab said, the same thing I said right now, no different really, except he said it much better than me, barakallahu fihi, that he doesn't, it's above his pay grade, he's not going to affect change, and he doesn't want to cause something to happen. And it's not like these scholars over there and the du'at are not doing their job. They're doing their very best, and some are going to jail and some are suffering as a result of it. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward them with good and help them. And number 9, the biggest victim and casualty here are the Muslims who are watching this whole thing unfold, let alone non-Muslims. People love tabloids and debates. We are simply giving them another form of entertainment. People like to be stimulated. They barely have the attention span to complete reading a book. And number 10, I said, let us renew our intention. And please, all 3 of you, accept my apologies if I offended any of you before or due to this post. I am just a little guy in the da'wah scene. So if I mess up, it's not a big deal. But if any of you 3 mess up, then they will have a major impact. And I repeat myself, barakallahu fikum, that any of you, if I offend you, Brother Muhammad Hijab, by the way, has a copy of my book as well. Just so you know, I made sure to arrange to send him a gift from myself. And me and him, I've tagged him before. I had some issues with some of the stuff he did with Yasir Qadi and other things before regarding the Aqidah and so forth. Now, Brother Daniel, this is down here where this is the message that he has on his Facebook or on his YouTube afwan. And he just literally copied and pasted it. Assalamu alaikum akhi, I appreciate your nasiha and diplomatic approach. Let me share why I think it is important to clarify these issues in this public dispute. I have been hounded by Wajdi and Saajid's associates for the past 2 years. I have ignored this constant annoyance from them as they go around making videos and posts after posts, spreading petitions, literally petitions, about how I am a deviant, I am a Khariji, I am an enemy of the Sunnah, and on and on. So I decided, fine, they want a debate, let's have a debate. And this is the thing I'm gonna mention at the end here. The reality is this doctrine of any public inkar of the ruler is khuruj bil lisan. This is an innovative position not found among the Salaf, the Khalaf, or even the Kibar ulama in Saudi prior to 40 years ago. My recent video establishes this. As someone who's a defender of the Sunnah, dear brother, you also have the duty to clarify this to your students or audience. And Akhi Daniel, I just wanted to, I want you to know that your video that you presented on this issue, 90% of it I already know, Akhi. I know this already, and other brothers, I'm sure they are aware of many of the things you said. Sheikh Uthaymeen, by the way, who you quoted, I believe, in your video, did say in another capacity that you can do public inkar, you condemn the ruler's issues in public, and he said, Uthaymeen rahimahullah, that you do it in his presence, so he has an opportunity to defend himself and rebuttal if he's been oppressed or something like that. I'm just paraphrasing what the Sheikh said. So the shuyukh, when they mentioned the inkar in public, and the hadith, many of them, like the one of Abu Sa'id al-Khudri and the Eid prayer with the Khalifa at the time, he was telling him off in his presence. So the default is inkar al-munkar itself. That's the default. Now, mentioning the ruler and so forth, when it comes to matters of aqidah or foundational matters, this can happen if there's maslahah in it, right? And again, as Brother Muhammad Hijab said, and as I'm saying to you, and again, I'm repeating the same thing, akhi, to you, that it doesn't always work that way with us here saying things and getting involved in matters that are way far away from us. We're doing inkar, and that's fine. You can do inkar of munkar all you want. You can talk about the evil of liberalism, feminism. Barakallahu feek, you're doing a great job in that. And you've inspired a lot of us, akhi, to talk about the same things which many of us maybe did not know how to talk about or were shy to talk about. All right. So anyway, continuing with the Brother Daniel's response. Yes, akhi, I am clarifying this to my audience, and I do my very best. May Allah bless you and everybody else. Finally, there is no such thing as opposing liberal, watered down Islam from the likes of Yasir Qadi and so forth. While ignoring this issue of criticizing the ruler, these things go hand in hand, because the same liberal program that the liberal celebrities have been tasked with spreading among the Muslims, that same liberal program is being propagated at the state level throughout Muslim society. How can you have a problem with the liberal imams and ignore the much larger, more impactful liberalization happening at the governmental level throughout the Muslim lands? Any Muslim who wants to preserve Islam from liberal distortion has to speak out, just as the pious Salaf and scholars did in response to state level deviation in their times. Yes, akhi, that's done publicly when there's a need for that, and when there's something going against the foundations of Islam, like for example the things you're mentioning here. But again, you weigh the benefits and the harms, and you do something where you're able to, as Brother Muhammad Hijab said, to affect change and to have a positive influence. And again, we have to be careful what we say, because the Arab Spring, some of them at the time were calling it the thawrat of social media, the rebellion of social media. The social media was used as a tool to spark up these kinds of rebellions, and we know what the outcome of the rebellions are in the countries. But whenever he says, but whenever we do speak out, there are these people telling us to shut up, otherwise we are Khariji, Takfiri, extremist, devious. I know, I feel you on that one. They are basically silencing all public opposition to the brutal liberalization of the Ummah, and they are also providing Islamic justification for these regimes to crack down on any Islamic opposition to their program. Yeah, there are people that go to extremes with regards to the governments and rulers, and I'm going to reference a couple of things right now for all of us to end this video. So, okay, there is a time for diplomacy and a time to take a stand and say enough is enough. This is not a tabloid or drama for the sake of drama. This is a major dividing line between those who are trying to counter liberalization and those who are actively defending the perpetrators of that liberalization by silencing its critics. Everyone has to make a choice about which side they fall on. Please forgive me if I have said anything to offend you. May Allah purify all of our intentions. Daniel, Akhi, you didn't offend me in any way. But this thing about picking a side, you have to decide where you are, with us or against us, Akhi. I think whether it's Brother Wajdi, Brother Saajid, myself, none of us here is parading or waving flags, of the different Muslim countries and defending the evil that they're doing in their governments or whatever it is the case might be. We are in the last stage of governance in the Muslim world. We are in the stage of tyrannical, forceful kingship. And the next thing coming up is the Khilafat al-Nubuwwah, and we believe in this. So Brother Daniel, this is what he put in his YouTube, this message in his comment section or posts, but he did not put my original post up here to put things into context. So unlike what Brother Daniel said, I'm not saying, Akhi, please, I'm begging you to stop. And Brother Daniel, it's not always about debating. Like, you're talking about they want to debate. No one said they want to debate. People are just expressing their opinion, and we're not here, and I'm not a debater myself. I'm not here to debate anybody. I just expressed it and I move on, and people can choose what they want to choose. So my response to Brother Daniel, I'm just going to ignore some of these people here calling me names. I said, Walaikum assalam, Akhi, I appreciate your response. As you know, I did watch your video on YouTube and commented on it and indicated that the evidences you provided are well established. I provided links to some lectures on the very topics which are parallel to what you presented. So I provided him a link to, for example, Sheikh Faisal Al-Jasim's lecture about Inkar al-Munkar and how he went through the difference between Inkar and Nasiha and secret, and when Inkar is necessary when it comes to rulers, when Inkar is permissible when it comes to doing it to other countries. And so he went into all that. So what you provided is very educational. None of what you presented came to me as a surprise, and it didn't, wallahi. I'm aware that public inkar is warranted in certain cases, which is why I shared a post regarding the Halloween issue with Saudi, just as I did the same for other Muslim countries and other matters in the past. I mean, Dr. Muhammad Salah, Egyptian sheikh, he had something on Saudi. He just mentioned that Saudi Arabia is celebrating Halloween, but then he went straight to the ruling on Halloween and evidences that Muslims will follow the kuffar in the end of times. He didn't go and start saying, well, these governments have to pay, and he didn't get into all that because he knows. And of course, here it says, not all public inkar is khuruj bil lisan. You are right, but I think we ought to be careful in how far we take that, because given the online environment of today, public criticism may cause an incitement for people to do certain things. Same thing that Brother Muhammad Hijab said, the same thing I'm sure that Brothers Wajdi and Brother Sajid are talking about, and the same thing, Akhi, that I'm saying to you right here, Barakallah fi. Enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil is not all done in the same way for rulers, scholars, and laymen. There's different things. Whoever is able to change a munkar with his hand should do so. Whether if he can, then with his speech, or if he can, with his heart. Now, with your hand means you have to have authority for that. As for Brothers Wajdi, Akari, and Saajid Lipham, I assure you that the brothers are not out to get you or harm you, and I certainly am not, as I mentioned this to you before. Perhaps we can get more in touch in the future, as I tried to reach out to you previously, just so you know, and to make this here for all to read. I do plan on writing another work that gets into the topic of the caliphate, governance, rebellion, and all their discussions between the scholars on these and other related topics, with something practical and moving forward. It will not be about a particular group, because Muslim unity and implementation of the Sharia goes beyond these groups. Again, I appreciate your response, and I'm not offended by anything you said. My fear is that onlookers are the victims of this dispute, because many are confused as to where the haqq is, since they look up to you and the other people. Barakallahu. So this is what I said, and Allahu alam, if hopefully this can be taken to heart. Now, I'm just going to share one more thing from my book on Hizb Tahrir, just to show that I do quote these things in my book as well, and I'm trying to be as consistent as I can. This is page 71 of my book on Hizb Tahrir. When I was talking about the unjust rulers, for example, here I have the one in Sahih Muslim and so forth, talking about the prophet. Never a prophet has been sent before me by Allah to his people, but he had among his people his disciples and companions who followed his ways and obeyed his command. Then there came after them successors, their successors who proclaimed what they did not practice and practiced what they were not commanded to do. And he who strove against them with his hand is a believer. he who strove against them with his tongue is a believer, and he who strove against them with his heart is a believer. And beyond that, there's no grain of faith. This is talking about changing the munkar and so forth according to your ability. And I mentioned here, it is also noteworthy to add another hadith which illustrates the method of addressing unjust rulers. The method is to be done directly in their presence. And this is supported by the previous hadith, which indicates that a believer is permitted to strive against them with his tongue. And of course, with the hand, this is for people in authority. And this is the hadith, Akhi, Barakallah Feek, when that you posted on your wall, Brother Daniel. It is narrated from Tariq ibn Shihab that a man asked the Prophet ﷺ when he had put his leg in the stirrup, which kind of jihad is best. He said, a word of truth spoken before an unjust ruler, inda Sultan al-Ja'ir, meaning in his presence, telling him. And then the explanation came right after that in the book of hadith that I referenced. It is the best jihad because it is likely that one will lose his life by it. On the other hand, a person could defend himself in a battle, but here that is not possible. Hands rise against him from every direction, and he is killed in a very ruthless manner. And we're not defending any oppressors here at all, because the next thing I say here, there's also a stern warning from being among those who are content with the oppression of the rulers and their evil actions, and more so those who go as far as joining them in supporting their actions. So it is narrated from Ka'b ibn Ujra, who said, the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came out to us. We were made up of 9, 5, and 4. The first of the numbers for the Arabs, and the latter for the non-Arabs. He said, listen, have you heard that after me there will be leaders? Whoever enters upon them and condones their lies and supports them in their oppression, then he is not from me and I am not from him, and he shall not drink with me from the hawd, the basin. And whoever does not enter upon them, nor helps them in their oppression, nor condones their lies, then he is from me and I am from him, and he shall drink with me from the hawd, or the basin. So my aim with this, with what I shared with you today, is just to show that, Brother Daniel, when I addressed you on Facebook and I advised you with the other two brothers, it wasn't about asking you please stop, and it wasn't about that. It was about just making sure that we observe proper etiquette with each other. And what Brother Muhammad Hijab said today in the interview between you and him, which mashallah for the most part was a very friendly, laid back type of interview, and I appreciated it. And I listened from at least the part I listened to, is we're not here to incite rebellion in other countries and get involved in the affairs. Akhi, my advice to you, Brother Daniel, is keep doing what you're doing as far as refuting liberalism, feminism. People in those parts of the world are reading your material. They understand. They can fill in the blanks. They know. The scholars in those lands, the du'at in those lands are doing whatever they can. Some of them have gone to prison in order to refute this battle that's happening around. So I think it's important to consider that. And this is all I have for today. Jazakallah khair for everybody for doing the work they're doing in the da'wah scene. And if I've offended anybody, I apologize ahead of time. But I just felt that it's important to clarify this matter, just to show that the sentiments of Brother Saajid and Brother Wajdi, I think, at least that's my perception, and Brother Muhammad Hijab as well, is the same thing, in that we can refute the munkar. But I mean, if you're not living in that country, or if you're not going to really affect change, as Brother Muhammad Hijab said, then do your best to do the inkar of the munkar. And Muslims, mashallah, they will catch up and they will read and they'll understand. Barakallahu feekum. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.